Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1147B, and today's date is December 8th, 2016, and the title of the episode is, Everyone is Going to Experience the Mother of All Events. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, Trump just picked his new head of the EPA. It's Scott Pruitt, and he is a global warming denier. Now, this is going to be a huge problem for those individuals who believe in global warming, who believe that people are the cause of this, who believe the lies coming out of the government, and all those scientists that get grants from the government, that are paid by the government to push the lie, to have everyone taxed, to pay for this debt. This is what they were really trying to do. And I know a lot of people are going to have arguments about it. No, it's real and it's all this. The only way you can prove that it's absolutely real, show the raw data. Not the manipulated data, not the massaged data, but the real data. And a lot of people will try to argue about this, but you need the real data. Remember, the United States is a very small area of the world. A lot of the world is covered by ocean. But I notice the corporate media, they're continually out there trying to convince everyone that, oh, look, it's hotter than normal. And this is inside the United States. And when you really look at the temperatures, guess what? They're pretty much around the same average they've always been. But they're trying to convince people by using propaganda. This is what our government has been resorting to. Propaganda, lying to the people. I mean, do you think they're lying about the unemployment numbers? Do you think they're lying about the GDP? Do you think they're lying about what we're doing over in the Middle East? Why do you think they're telling you the truth about anything else? They're not. Now, they're pushing the idea that everyone in the alternative media is spreading fake news. And that's all you hear now is fake news, everything's fake news. And the Washington Post came out with that story about how all these different sites, they're pushing Russian propaganda. It's all fake. They got their information from Prop or Not. Now the Washington Post, well, they're not retracting their story. They're appending it, and they're admitting this story might be fake. So they're admitting the story on fake sites pushing Russian propaganda might be fake. I mean, how many times do we have to go through this where the corporate media is continually pushing fake news? Because they say they can't vouch for the validity of Prop or Not. They don't know where they got their information. And again, they put the story out there without backing it at all. And this is done many, many times. Actually, most of the stories that the corporate media receives is from the CIA and the U.S. government. They just take it at face value and they run with it, without doing any type of investigation reporting, without looking into it, without gaining sources. And they convince the people that, yes, this is absolutely true. China right now, they're going after fake news. And they've taken it a step further. They're going to fine people $72,000 and then shut down their websites if they push fake news. Now, of course, the question is, what is fake news? Because what source are you gauging your fake news on? Again, I go back to 2008 here in the United States. If I came out and told you these subprime securities were garbage, and I told you I looked into them and I see that everyone's defaulting, you would say, well, the government says they're okay, they're AAA rating, so what I'm telling you would be considered fake news because you just check with a reliable source. the rating agencies and the U.S. government. But it turned out those two sources were lying. They knew what was going on. And it turns out that the subprime securities were garbage, with many individuals defaulting on their loans. So again, it has to do with where you are checking. Is it a reliable source? Right now, the U.S. government, the corporate media, they are not a reliable source. Now, yesterday we reported on a bombing in Iraq, Syria. It was on a marketplace. And we see that they killed around 55 civilians. It might be more, where they were going after 8 Islamic State militants. And they didn't know who did it. And pretty much the United States is flying around there. Iraq, the coalition forces are flying around there. And it turns out it was Iraqi warplanes. They attacked a crowded marketplace and they killed many civilians. And we can see right now, the question is, who are they really fighting in Iraq? Is it really the Islamic State? Or are they fighting those individuals that want to get rid of the puppet government? Because it seems like that's who they're really going after. Now, Russia is saying that they're going to halt combat operations in Aleppo. They've spoken to the Syrian forces, and they are going to stop active military operations in eastern Aleppo. And the reason for this is they want to evacuate Aleppo civilians. And we see right now that Sergei Lavrov and John Kerry, they are trying to work out some type of deal in regards to the situation in Aleppo. And Lavrov said something very interesting to John Kerry. He said that the Obama administration continues unfriendly steps in an attempt to ultimately undermine the foundations of normal interactions between Moscow and Washington, which is absolutely true, because they don't want normal interactions. They're trying to provoke a war. Remember, the elite, the shadow government, the central bankers, they want a war to cover up everything they've done. And it's not just the economy. It's all the crimes, all the lies, everything they have done. They want to cover this up and pretend it didn't exist. It's almost like back in 9/11, the day before, when they were televising how the Pentagon was missing trillions of dollars, and then all of a sudden 9/11 happened and that story just completely disappeared. They want to do the same exact thing, but with a war, because there is so much out there that they don't want to be uncovered, that they're very nervous about this, because what's happening right now is that the truth is starting to shine through, and they're getting very nervous about that. We see that China, they completely back Russia in blocking the UN Security Council resolution for a ceasefire. Most of the time, China just stood on the sidelines, but this time they are speaking up, and they are now joining Russia and saying, okay, enough is enough. We need to get rid of these terrorists. We know what the United States is doing. We know the United States funds them. We know the United States controls them, supplies them with weapons. And we see that the elite, well, they're not going to give up that easily. They're still trying to reorganize, and they're still trying to keep the war going in Syria. Right now, Turkey, they're sending about 300 troops to reinforce the Syrian operation. Their operation is called Euphrates Shield. And we can see right now they're continually sending in more and more troops into this area. The U.S. right now, they're going to be deploying 1,700 troops to Iraq. Of course, they're saying this is all about fighting the Islamic State. Remember when Obama said we weren't going to put boots on the ground? Well, again, another lie. I guess that was fake news, because he told us this, the corporate media carried this, and now we're putting boots on the ground. Now, they're saying this is going to happen in early 2017. The soldiers will be from the 82nd Airborne Division based out of Fort Bragg in North Carolina. We also have to remember that we have the USS George H.W. Bush, the aircraft carrier, out in this area. We have the USS Wasp and we have the USS Whidbey all in this area. So this means most likely they're pushing a ground invasion. Now, very interestingly, the Pentagon just announced a creation of a new armed rebel group to fight in Syria. Who are they? Well, they're calling them the Syrian Elite Forces. So they have the Syrian Defense Forces, which they were really called the Moderate Rebels, but they renamed them. And again, these are all terrorists, paid mercenaries. And they're saying that this Syrian Elite Forces, they're made up of 90% Syrians. Because in the past, all the other forces that they used, they're made up of paid mercenaries. And we can see right now, they just appeared in northern Syria, out of nowhere. And they're going to join the battle in Raqqa. How convenient. So what does this mean? This means that the United States government central bankers, they're not giving up. They still believe that they will be able to get Syria. Now, the Syrian elite forces, and of course, as we know, the Syrian Defense Forces, the moderate rebels, the paid mercenaries, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, the Islamic State, they're going to morph, most likely, into the Syrian elite forces and tell people they're part of that. And they'll continually try to convince everyone that, well, they're all Syrian, because we have mostly Syrian in there. And the Russians, the Syrians, they can't attack them. And we can see right now, this is part of their new plan. It's like a last-ditch effort to try to keep hold of this entire area. Because we know right now that the Islamic State, they're dwindling to nothing. Their oil revenue has been cut off. Supplies are very difficult to get in right now. And things are rapidly deteriorating. But one thing is for sure about all of this, is that when the system starts to fall and everything starts to break apart, the Middle East, well, all the U.S. forces will disappear in this region. Because we will have more problems here in the United States, that there'll be no funds to keep the forces out in this area. They might even be stranded out in those areas. Because this event that's going to occur, this mother of all events, is going to be the economic collapse. And the collapse of the system, isn't it not just about, I lost my currency, I don't have anything in the bank, they're bailing me in. That's not what it's about. The destruction of the entire system, where all of this was built on, is coming to an end. And when things go south, it means that everything stops, comes to a screeching halt. It means that those days where you walked into a supermarket and said, let me buy 3 loaves of bread, let me buy some of this, maybe they're out of it, I'll come back tomorrow, it will be there. What this means is you'll go to the supermarket, nothing will be there on day 1, nothing will be there on day 27. When you go to fill up your car, most likely gas stations will be closed. They will not be able to get the fuel to the stations. People will be scrambling around looking for supplies. Now, is this going to happen as soon as the collapse occurs? No. Think about the blackout in 2003. Actually, people were in a pretty good mood. I was in the city at that time, and people were very friendly. People were walking around. Crime was very low at that point. in the beginning, people will be like, oh, don't worry about it. Everything will work out. There'll be no problems. And we'll be able to get fuel. We'll be able to get food. And what will happen is, over time, the market, the supermarkets, the gas stations, they'll start running out of things. It won't happen day one because people won't understand what's going on. Yes, they'll see the stock market crash and things like that. But you'll go to the supermarket just like you've always done. You'll get your bread, and you'll come back 2 days later. You'll see, that's strange. The shelves haven't been refilled. Of course, the corporate media, the president, they're going to tell you everything's fine. QE will start up. And the panic will start most likely 10 days later, 15 days later. And people will start to realize, okay, something's wrong here. My business that I used to go to for my job, their doors are locked. What is going on here? They don't have money to pay us? How come I can't get money out of the ATMs anymore? They're completely empty. I go into the bank and they're saying, no, there's no cash. We can't give you anything. And this is going to happen slowly but surely, and then people are going to realize what is happening. And at that point, that's when people are going to start to get worried. And this is the mother of all events. This is the event. And after these couple of days in the beginning, people then are going to start to get really worried and afraid because the refrigerator, their cupboards, they're going to be empty. You won't be able to drive around in your car. I mean, think back to 1971, if you can remember that time period, where you had to go to the gas station on a certain day, odd or even. They have a red flag, green flag, out of gas, not out of gas. Some people couldn't get fuel. Others could. This time, there's going to be no red or green flag. It's not going to be odd or even license plates. The gas station will just be closed. The supermarket will eventually just be closed. And this is what we're going to see, because this entire system, think about it, is built on a lie. A debt of lies. And this is why you need to be prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.